Bonjour. In our native way, I was told we go back as far as we can remember. I grew up on a farm with my younger brother and my grandma and my grandpa spent. I was sitting on grandma's lap when she told me, "You're going to be adopted." What did that mean? I was 5 years old when my new parents came for us. I ran away a lot, even though I didn't know where I was going. One time I seen stars when he hit me and started crying. He finally stopped. In that moment, I told myself I'm never going to cry again. That's when my wall went up. I stopped looking at things in a good way. If you said the sky was sunny, I would say no, it's not. Mom and Dad went to church regularly. It was confusing for me because I watched how people talked about God inside the church and how differently they behaved outside the church. One day someone stole a case of beer and brought it to the schoolyard. I remember kids grabbing beer cans, one for now, another for later. I did the same. Unfortunately, that's how it always was. I could never have enough. Soon I was in juvie, then local jails, then state prisons. My father used to tell me, am I living life on an installment plan by going to prison? I could always count on my dad to bail me out. I stopped drinking for 14 and a half years, and I tried going to church to find my spirituality. I remember sitting on the porch and there was beauty all around me, but I still felt empty inside. Alcohol and drugs couldn't fill it. My daughter got married, and as time went, my son moved out right afterwards. It was just my wife and I at home. With myself, I thought that we were splitting up. It seemed like things just wasn't working out, and I started getting into drugs and alcohol more. And then that's when we turned around and parted our ways. I went to treatment at New Day in the year 1999 and stayed for 45 days, then went on to Three Fires for 6 months. I grew up in Detroit and did not know my native ways. I was in my 50s when I finally started learning it's never too late. Is this what I was seeking? I couldn't get enough. Unfortunately, my love for drinking and driving didn't work for me. I got my 4th DUIL and I was sent to prison. It wasn't unfamiliar to me because I was there in the 70s, 30 years earlier. After prison, I started using again, and then boom, I was living in a cardboard box along the expressway. No job, no food, no money. I'd go canning for change, dumpster diving for food, and looking for unfinished cigarettes near banks and gas stations. I didn't care if I lived or died. Tossing and turning in my cardboard box, I knew this life was not for me. But I didn't know how to get out of it. I finally cried myself to sleep. I stayed away from my family when I was using, even though my sisters attempted to help me. I called my older sister and told her I wanted to visit. I really only wanted to borrow money to go to the dope house. She saw my condition, told me to stay the night. You know, women have a way of comforting a person. I was dropped off and had money, and I needed to get one last high. It's true, geographic moves don't help. The addiction goes with you. Once I got over the first hump of withdrawing from drugs, with the help of my sister and their friends, I stumbled a little. I found myself in a house with a fridge full of beer, every shelf. The owner offered me one, and I said no. But the more I stared at that fridge, the more thirsty I got. I took one to drink and one for the road. I was afraid to go home. I figured my sister would be like a big mad tornado. I told myself, that's okay, I'll make it. I'll just go back to Detroit. When I walked in, she looked at me and said, "Brother, why don't you go lay down and we'll talk in the morning?" She got a small blanket and covered me. Nobody has ever done that for me. I cried and fell asleep. That was the last time I took a drink. I was 57 years old when I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. I started going to AA and NA meetings, and I found teachers who taught me about our spiritual ways of life. The most beautiful thing in the world cannot be seen or touched. It must be felt from within. Life is truly precious. I have conscious contact with the Creator every night. Last week I celebrated 10 years of sobriety, and they are the best and the happiest years that I have ever lived. I am on the tribal council and I go to AA and NA meetings to share my story, to give others hope. Don't let shame stop you from seeking out help. Walk in a good way, and remember the great mystery is within you always. Oh, miigwech.